Let's get up here. How's everybody doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by. Let me let me drop that music down because it's probably a little bit loud. And then if you're so kind and able to hear all right, just let me know. Let me know if it's coming in okay for you. And I got a guest in the back I'm going to bring up here, and we'll just not belabor any of the point. I was just watching a bit of his stream. He was asking a few questions about things and just chatting a little bit. So he said, hey, why don't you post one up? And I said, yeah, let's do it. So we'll do the thing. I'll bring him on up. I5, what's up, man?
Greetings, humans, YouTubers, and dogs.
Yeah. And dogs.
Good
There's
dogs.
always dogs. There's always dogs around. If there's not dogs around, they're either sleeping or something's gone terribly wrong in my life. So it's all good.
How's the mic? Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You had a tiny bit of feedback coming in. I can hear myself just a little bit on the back end, but it's not bad at all.
Let me see. I think there's a button that says
Like it's a feedback kind
echo
of thing.
cancellation. Let's try that. Now let's try again.
All right, I'll talk
Okay.
again. Yeah, I just hear my voice a little bit on repeat in the background, but I think you're good. I mean, it's good enough for
Still
me.
here? Okay, hold on.
Yep. Yeah, it's nothing like, it's not your input. I just hear myself talking.
Hold on, give me a second.
Mhm.
Okay, now talk.
All right, let's test this out. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, you're good.
I discovered this technology called earphones. So if you
Yeah,
put earphones
yeah.
in
Sometimes
while
sometimes when you have the audio coming in and it's kind of strong, you get the repeat. But yeah, what's up with you, man? How you doing?
I am peachy.
I'm good. Good.
Life probably couldn't get much better, other than my neighborhood's a little crappy, but I'm working on that. But
What about what area of the world are you in?
the United States of America?
Yeah, like East Coast, West Coast, Midwest.
Flyover
Flyover?
country.
I spend a lot of time in flyover states. I'm in the Midwest. I live in Wisconsin, but I travel a lot for work, and I spend a lot of time in Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. I think a lot of people would label those as some of the flyover ones. So maybe I'm out towards you for work on an occasion.
I did some time in North Dakota, but I won't ever go back there again. They can't pay me enough to live or work there.
I've only briefly been in the Dakotas. I was on a road trip for work, and we went from Minnesota to. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take a step back. We went Minnesota to South Dakota, up to North Dakota, and then back to like Minneapolis area. So it was quite the journey. I like South Dakota. North Dakota, like getting up in the northern part of North Dakota, it was cold, man. It's like almost
You
Canada
betcha.
right there.
You betcha. It's pretty cold up there. Yeah, I had to put like
there-
a heater on my engine or it wouldn't start.
Yeah, I always like to joke around because I'm not native to Wisconsin, but I'll speak with a lot of people, and they have a really what do they like to call it? Like kind of that Yooper accent, and
Yeah,
so you get
you
up into
betcha.
the Minnesota and and oh hey there
Don't you
guy,
know?
I see you in about 2-3 minutes if we can get things going there, guy, hey. And it's been an interesting experience on that one.
Yeah. So you're there for the cheese, is what I'm hearing. That's why you moved up there.
Cheese and beer and the Green Bay Packers, those are the reasons to be in Wisconsin, in case you didn't know. So
I kind of like it warm, so I moved to California for a while, but holy cow, that no matter how good the climate is, the people can ruin anything. So like, even though it's like paradise down there, they can't pay me to live there because of the neighborhoods.
that and taxes, man. Like California taxes are no joke, depending on what particular area you were in. But you end up giving up a lot of your paycheck by the end of the day. For a lot of my California compatriots,
They don't
I
really have
hear that complaint. Yeah.
They don't really have taxes in California. They just give you a little change left over. Like they take all of it and then they just give you some gas money so that
They give
can
you an
keep
allowance.
giving
You
the
don't
money.
you don't have taxes. You just get an allowance.
Yeah, they give you like, some pocket change. They're like, here you go, buy a can of gas, and then you can keep working for us. But that's all you make in California.
But you
So,
get unlimited sunshine. That's the payoff, right? And if you're homeless,
they
at least you're not freezing.
they have the most wonderful trees in California. I spent a lot of quality time in the redwood forest,
That's what I was
and
gonna say. Yeah.
I was so jealous of those people. I wish my bunker in the woods was in the middle of the redwood forest because that would be like the dream.
Yeah,
But
I've seen pictures, but I've never actually been like I've been to a lot of places, but I've never been to California. And I see those ones, and I don't know if it's on a show or a picture, but you see a picture of a redwood with like a an arc or an arch cut out of it for like
and
cars
you
to
can
go
drive
through.
a car through
Now,
it. It's
is that
it's
actually
real.
real, or is that just like a made
Confirmed.
up? Yeah, okay.
It is real, and
All right.
so that's exactly the kind of forest I want to hang out in, is that kind of environment. So, but anyways,
Amazing. Yeah, yeah.
until the bug wipes out all of the blue crats from
Yeah.
California, we'll just have to stay
Uh,
away for now.
yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like I grew up rural. I'm a country kid at heart. I've lived in cities. I've lived in the country.
Ditto.
But tell you what, I'm much happier when it's. I like access to the things, but I don't want to live in the things, if that makes sense.
I took on a wife, and she likes access to the things. So my access to her access is all the city life I care about. And so
Yeah.
every
If
time I
mom,
see the
yeah, if mama ain't happy, nobody happy. Is that how it's
yeah, yeah,
working?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's part of the deal. The
Yep.
ball and chain. You signed on the dotted line, so you have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah.
But anyways, every time I see that documentary by, I can't remember his name, Jack somebody, who like went out into Alaska or something and built a little log cabin or whatever.
Is that the kid that
Um,
like starving to death in the damn?
no, 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 no. The other guy, the guy
Oh,
from
okay.
the 50s, that like
Oh, okay, okay.
he just like got tired of civilization, so he went out and like way out in the middle of nowhere. Even the bears don't know how to find that spot, and so he like built a log cabin by hand and like grew his own food and everything. And I'll look up his name later, but
All right.
he's kind
Yeah.
of famous for creating this documentary about like living out in the wild or whatever, and I can't remember his name. I thought it was
Okay. I'll
Jack
have to
something. I
check it
can't
out.
remember.
Because I remember a
But
recent documentary about some kid ended up like starving to death up
yeah,
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are the documentaries that like scare you straight, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
no, I better stay near the city or I might die or something. And so that's why I just like to have like one foot in the edges of suburbia and the other foot in wilderness, and so that's
Yeah.
where my bunker's going up.
I like it, man. I feel you. I live in a town. I'm just outside of a town. It's a tiny town. It's about 1,500 people. But Madison, I'm about 30 minutes away from Madison, which is about what, a quarter million, 300,000, state capital, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And then Chicago is like a 2 hour drive for me. So I'm kind of in this good spot where I have quick access to like the big stuff if I want, but also it's a lot of space too. So it's
Yeah.
good.
The only thing I care about cities anymore is like access to a good hospital and
Mhm.
access to a decent grocery market. So even
And
though I'm
I
planning
gotta
on
have my 2 day Prime. I gotta have my 2 day Amazon Prime
yeah,
too.
yeah, exactly. As much as I want to pretend like I will eventually become so self-sufficient that I'm like Farmer Joe growing everything he eats, I'm pretty sure I don't want to go through the hassle of like growing wheat and grinding flour and making my own bread and stuff. That's a
Yeah,
lot of work for just a
yeah,
very little slice of bread. So
yeah.
um,
No, I'm good. I'm good on that one.
I'll do the trade-off where like I just go to like Sam's Club like
Hmm.
twice a year or
Yep,
something
and
like that
just
and
get
stock up
months of
on all the
supplies. Well, speaking of like South Dakota and stuff, I was talking with them, and we were joking around. I was working on some of the accounts, and they were talking about how, yeah, we're gonna go for our quarterly trip to Costco or Sam's Club. And I was like, how long does that take you? Oh, about 2 hours each way. And I was like, man, that's wild. They're like, yeah, it's a date night, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so that's just how it works.
All right, Neurojack is already hitting me up in chat, so let's
Okay,
go ahead and get down to business real
yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Before I was about to ask if you're okay with Neurojack coming on panel before we let him on.
yeah, yeah.
I did want to see what your thoughts are on what I was discussing. So again, eventually I'm going to get into like some regular programming, and I
Mhm.
haven't quite figured it out yet. So what I have in mind is a panel of 2 to 3 regulars, which I call them judges, just for
Sure.
giggles. And then a hot seat where that's the open,
Yeah, the
forum where
rotating. Yeah.
anyone from chat or it's any rando person that just clicked on the stream 5 seconds ago or whatever,
Hmm.
and then they heard something that they were interested in jumping in on, and so that way it totally controls the discussion and the quality,
Yeah.
and it's not so random and just a bunch of noise and a bunch of derails and like people just constantly changing the subject when there's like 10 people on panel and stuff like that,
Right.
and talking over each other and all that other stuff. So but again, my channel is just solely focused on religion, and then the only reason why I also bring up politics and culture and those side topics is because, first of all, nobody wants to talk about religion all the time,
Right.
and even if they do want to talk about religion, eventually you do want to also comment on the downstream effects of, like,
Hmm.
once we've nailed religion, now what? Now what do we do with society? And so I don't mind the back and forth, but it usually ends up just completely going off the rails. Like, you never go back to religion. It's just always about the drama and the politics and who's voting for who and stuff like that. And that's where I lose interest in that stuff really quick. So
Yeah.
anyways, if you're game, I would definitely like to see if you have what it takes to be like either a regular hot seater or even like a panel judge. Where if you have pretty strong feelings about the topic, you're more than welcome to keep coming back for more. Like if you didn't get enough the first time, and
Yeah.
you want to finish your thought in the next stream, we can do it that way as well. So
Yeah, I'm kind of down for like I was talking with you on your channel a little bit ago. I'm kind of pretty open-minded, and I like to kind of just hear other people's perspectives on various things, whether it's religion, politics, whatever. It doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it, but I feel like
oh yeah.
at least hearing it makes me a more rounded person and better apt to have these conversations later on. Just like, for example, just because you grew up in one particular denomination of a religion, why would
Mhm.
you not at least want to hear what the other potential aspects of what we're talking about? And I've found in my time of most there's a lot more in common. We have a lot more in common than we do separate, and sometimes we get real hung up on the things that are separate as opposed to
Yeah.
focusing on the similarities that we share.
So I'm kind of a bit of a paradox. I wish I could share the exact same sentiment you just
Mhm.
showed. I'm more of the been there, done that type phase of my life, and so
Mhm.
now I'm more into the more narrow minded, let's get to the point type of conversations, and
Right.
so that can turn a lot of people off. I mean, I know that I'm not blind to the fact that most people don't want to have those kinds of conversations, and so I understand that. But again, I'm ready to move on because
Mhm.
there are plenty of panels where they're completely open, and there's no standards or requirements, and anyone who has a pulse can show up and start making noise on panel.
Mhm.
And then it's always the hippie kumbaya people that are like, let's not separate ourselves and put ourselves in boxes or anything like that. Let's all just
Mhm.
be friends and get along and stuff like that. And, and it's
Mhm.
like, I understand the sentiment. In
Mhm.
the end, I hope to create a community in which, we all share 90% of our beliefs, 80% of our beliefs or whatever,
Mhm.
and so that's why I default more back into politics when I get into those kumbaya talks about,
Yeah.
can we just be neighbors and get along and still build a society without, having to worship at exactly the same church,
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
have the same Bible or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I'm the paradox where I will go into the weeds and all the nitty-gritty details about why religions are different and stuff like that. And so I'm pretty good on politics. Like I said, I don't really have to debate politics anymore. There is no debate between like socialism and capitalism. there's no debate between authoritarians and libertarians. And so, anyone who wants to debate those topics can't be helped anymore anyway. So, it's like sometimes you have to know when to pick your battles and stuff. And so the hill I'm going to die on is the topic of religion. So I feel like, religion is the most important topic human beings could ever talk about anyway, regardless of your political views or your lifestyle choices or anything like that. So, that's going to be the numero uno focus on my channel. And so again, anyone has the courage or strength to engage in those types of discussions, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'm going to start as vague as possible, but then quickly work into very specific stuff. So again, like I said, you have your background, every other person has their own background, and we can all kind of say where we started from, and then hopefully find some little middle ground where we all kind of agree on most of the stuff, and then maybe kind of work from there and see why we differ on things, like what ended up splitting us on XYZ topic or whatever. And so that's the focus of the show, is to find out what the division is and either accept it, that we're just we're not on the same team, or maybe we do want to be on the same team, but it was just some silly little belief that we didn't quite jibe on or something like that, so
or to your point earlier, maybe there's a knowledge gap. Maybe somebody's just not informed on an aspect of something that would perhaps possibly change their perspective on it.
Oh yeah, so we can definitely fix ignorance. Ignorance is the easy problem to solve. The stupidity is what ends up ultimately separating many humans from certain topics. And so going back to politics, for example, not knowing what socialism is or capitalism is an easy problem to solve, because all you got to do is educate them on what it actually is. Knowing what they are and yet choosing the stupid outcome that causes starvation and death and all of the world's problems is stupidity. You can't explain to someone, you are the cause of the problem. You keep voting for these people, so you are the problem. It's not the idea. It's So.
There's a big difference between choosing to make a mistake and being ignorant of the mistake you're making. I 100% agree.
So with that thought in mind, again, my panels aren't going to be for everyone. It's definitely not going to fly with the kumbaya crowd, because they don't want to bring up topics that hurts people's feelings, or may step on certain people's toes or whatever. And so I'm way past that point. I was more friendly when I was young and dumb and had lots of free time to burn. But now that I'm old and wise and realize eventually humans need to get to the point and, either figure out, can we agree on this topic, or is it just a wall that cannot be passed or something? And so,
100%.
So that's it. So if you're okay with that format, then
I'm happy to help. Yeah.
All right. So I don't know if Neurojack's he asked for the link. Did he?
Yeah. Do you want me just and I'll take your word at it of whoever is cool or whatnot. So do you want me just to post it on there, or what's the best way, do you think?
I sent him the link. I don't know if he got it or not. He may have ran away because he had to wait for more than 5 minutes. So
okay.
He's a very busy, energetic person. So anyways, if you want to open up the panel at any point after we got our chat done, that's your call.
Yeah, I'm up for whatever. Like I said, this is kind of an impromptu. I had a little bit of time before I'm going to go do some yard work, so just whatever it is, I'm cool with.
There you go. Sounds cool. So so that's the gist of my pitch, is to propose a slightly different format that isn't being used enough, I would say, in this panelverse, because it's either just like an interview with just two people talking to each other, or it's like a clusterfuck of open panel where it's like 20 people and they're all doing different topics all at the same time, and you're like,
having hosted large panels in the past, I've found that about 4 people having the discussion is about the most that you can actually have a productive discussion of. Because to your point, my max is 10 or whatever. I've had 10 people on panel, and usually it turns into one or two people dominating the conversation, and then people will try to like interject here and there, and then you get two, three people that just sit there and don't say anything the whole time. So it seems kind of fruitless. So it's
Yep.
just better to, I think it far better to limit the conversations to like
Yep.
four, maybe five people. After that, you kind of starts to, like you said, just like herding cats at that point.
So one of the things I like about the magic number I picked was the tribunal of three judges will create an interesting dynamic where it's almost never just going to be a dialogue between two of them.
Mm.
So you're more than likely you're going to get two of them that kind of agree or whatever, but there's probably going to be a third that maybe strongly disagrees and says, like, starts putting up the debate format of, well, here's the opposite view of the topic. And so that way you can still have a productive conversation. You have both sides of the view and possibly a tiebreaker, a third person to jump in when the two just can't ever, get on the same page or ever agree to terms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I love about the tribunal format. And then the hot seat is just to kind of stir the pot every once in a while when all three are in complete agreement and there's nothing more to be said because all three men are like, yes, we all agree. That's the answer.
Right.
Done. And so then the hot seat will be like, oh, what about, blah, blah, blah. And then they can just shoot off stuff. So, but anyways, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, I think that's cool. I think that's real cool.
But again, topics is religion and then politics and then and then culture. I want to do it in that order. Religion and then culture and then politics is the priority.
And to your thought, are you looking to do something like kind of like a weekly show or more so than that even, or what's kind of your idea?
Whenever the spirit moves me and when I have good sleep that night and I'm in the mood for talking for hours at a time is my schedule. So maybe like start off once a week, maybe twice a week, who knows? It'll just kind of depend on the flow and the energy, the juices flowing, the spirit, all that stuff.
Yeah, because I found that I don't know, me, like YouTube is kind of a hobby, kind of an interest of mine, but I'll go through phases where it's like, oh, I'm going to stream every week. And then it goes a couple weeks. And then sometimes it's even a couple months, like, especially during the summer, I'll end up like getting involved in other stuff and not do it as much. And then you're like, oh, now I got to get back to it. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to go two or three times this week. And then it's just finding that rhythm that you want to get into and sustaining it, I feel, to be the thing that's like, all right, let me direct my energy at this plan.
Yeah. But I feel like if we make the gaps too long, like once every other month or something like that, you kind of lose your audience at that point.
Oh, they're
like, they kind of want that routine in their life, and so that's why I can do it like every week.
Yeah. Like to that point, if they know, hey, every Saturday afternoon or insert every Wednesday evening or whatever, there's going to be the iFi show or whatever it is, they're kind of looking forward to it at that point. At least, hopefully, they are.
And then once I get monetized, if the money's flowing in, we can do this every day. So it's like completely up to the audience on how often they want it. So
yeah, that's cool.
But for free, I'm thinking about once a week or something like that is what I had in mind.
That's good. And then, of course, like StreamYard cost and whatever equipment cost and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Just things that are considerations, I guess I would say.
And $30 microphones I just bought. I just spent a whole $30 on this microphone. So I get my money's worth out of it.
That's $30 invested right there for you. I hope somebody sends you some like Cash App to help offset that.
As financially speaking, I've already told other people this. I'm not hurting for money or anything. So people are still trying to figure out whether or not I work full-time, Cynthia. And so, I don't know why that's important, but if people are so interested in my personal life, I'm essentially a retired engineer. So, cool. Back in the day when I worked in the rat race, I did the 9 to 5, lifestyle, but I'm essentially semi-retired at this point. So
yeah, I think at least my interested in it is just getting a better perspective of what that person's background is, what their worldview is, where they're coming from, if I feel like they're relatable in terms of, oh yeah, or if like, hey, this person was a trust fund kid and they've never worked a day in their life.
Exactly.
It's kind of like that's when I am curious as to, hey, what do you do? It's a relatability question for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I come from. I know that's maybe not everybody, but when I'm asking that question, that's what's in my mind is, can I relate more to this person because of professionally what they do, or insert whatever else in there.
So to not dox myself, I won't ever give specific answers to my questions, like what city I'm currently living in, or my social security number or anything like that. I will answer vague questions. So like if you asked what's my background, when I turned 18, my dad said, "Good luck, son. Have fun." So that was my inheritance. So basically, I paid for my own college. I've been working since I was like 15 years old. I bought my own car. I've paid for everything in my life. Whether I travel somewhere or live somewhere, I have never received any money from anyone else. So one of those self-made men.
Hey, that's a cool thing to be, because it's hard for somebody to take that away from you.
Yeah. And actually, I was given a rather annoying experience in life, because my dad was loaded. I'm not gonna make any bones about that. We were definitely rich growing up, and so as a young child, I was that annoying little preppy shit that like the bad guy in every rom-com movie, the rich guy who's just an asshole. That was me as a teenager before and all that. And so so growing up in a rich family doesn't do you any favors whatsoever. It gives you this false sense of entitlement in life, and so you think that everyone should expect fine quality things and stuff. And so, but luckily, like I said, my dad cured me of that, because as soon as I turned 18, he was like, "Okay, you enjoyed the free ride, so bye, have fun." And he was like, not even gonna kind of help us out after that, which was fun and interesting. So
kind of kicked you out the nest.
Yeah, of the gold-plated nest, which makes it even harder.
Yeah, that can be a jarring awakening experience if you're not prepared for it.
Yep. But luckily, I had corporate America to land my feet on, so they helped me through the tough times. And so
engineering was kind of your background.
Yeah, a civil engineer. So I build cities and shit, stuff like that. So
yeah, I'm always curious when everybody tells me they're, or not everybody, but when anybody tells me an engineer, okay, then it's the secondary question of, was it chemical? Was it civil? What kind of engineering?
I hate when I have to differentiate between code monkey and engineer, because in modern times, when you say engineer, 9 times out of 10 they think you work for Google or Apple.
Oh, really? Is that an assumption nowadays? I always think of like mechanical versus chemical, but that was just
it's way more popular. The millennial Zoomer crowd, when you say engineer, they think you mean coder,
like a data engineer, I guess.
Computer engineering is what they call it. And so learning computer language doesn't strike me as an engineering discipline, but that's because I went through real engineering school instead of just code monkey school.
And I see Chuck electrical. Yeah, I feel like my peers growing up that were engineers, it was either mechanical or chemical. So it was like you were either building robots or you were making up chemicals, were the two I knew of. So,
Yep.
So, but that's good stuff. And you did that, not to but like a full-ish, you said you're kind of getting towards retirement, so like 20 plus 30.
Well, I'm not fully retired. You're not fully retired until you no longer have to worry about money, period.
Gotcha.
So I'm in that 1 foot in retirement, 1 foot and just finding little things to invest in to keep some sort of income going. And so
like side projects, if you will.
Yeah, like bunkers in the woods and stuff like that. So that's where all the money's going right now. That's why there's a need for income.
I was shocked of how much some people are pouring into it. Some of the uber wealthy. I was watching a little bit of a part of a documentary on some of these I don't know, Stacy had one on the other day where it was this underground bunker and the spots were going for like $3 million a pop, and they were basically like one bedroom suite apartments in this, I don't know, 20 floor deep bunker system. It was kind of wild, and it was this like luxury one. I don't know what the name of it was, but it was intriguing to say the least.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you could definitely build a fallout shelter for a couple $100 million if you want to, but I don't want to do like, a Fallout 5 in my backyard. I just want to, be reasonably prepared for, the grid going down, the zombie apocalypse, which I call the DNC. When they let the DNC out is when the zombie apocalypse starts. But anyways, hopefully, the Civil War won't get too hairy, but we'll have to cross our fingers and hope. But anyway,
you know what the crazy part about that is, and I've thought about this a little bit myself, and the crappiest part about it is, and being prepared for whatever is probably the best thing you can do. But how crappy would it be if you did all this preparation and then you just happen to be at ground zero? You know what I mean? Just like, wouldn't that just be the ultimate kick in the nuts of, man,
you should have opted for the 100 million fallout shelter.
but you know what I mean? Just like you did everything right, and then it was, Lincoln, Nebraska that went down first, as opposed to wherever else, and you were within like 100 miles of ground zero or something stupid, and you were just half your way.
Or in the middle of the crossfire between all the gang wars or something, and you're like, no, I want to stay out of this.
Like I prep for all of this, and then you guys, drop the nuke right on my door. Like that would be the crap.
Yep.
And I agree, man. Mandible, the preppers are nuts until they're not. Yep, I agree, man. Everybody thinks being over prepared is weird until they run out of toilet paper, and then you're the guy with all the toilet paper.
Yep. Speaking of which, I had a conversation with one of my contractors about toilet paper during the last Boogaloo. So that's all you need to know about human society, how quickly it will fall apart. All it takes is a nasty cold virus and everybody loses their mind. So
yep. And as Chuck said, I agree. You can prep for stuff, but also just yourself being the ultimate embodiment of your preparation, like you being prepared as a person, as a skill set, whatever you have to continue going on, like you'll be the one thing that hopefully doesn't run out of whatever.
That's why you prep for self-sufficiency. So if you can figure out the magic trick of growing all your food and powering all your systems, then you're good to go.
That knowledge.
The bunker in the woods is 100% off grid. Like I provide all of my own utilities, so I have all my own sewer, water, electricity, and then I'm just gonna start turning it into like a homestead farm where I figure out how much work I want to do as a farmer to grow my own food, so that if the doomsday occurs, I will at least be able to survive. And if the doomsday doesn't happen, then I'll just go down to Walmart and pick up, flour, because growing wheat and grinding your own flour is a lot of work. It's a lot of labor. So
that rice, you can store rice for a long time too, I think. So,
but you have to have rice paddies to grow it in. So you have to have like the
right. I guess I mean for the initial thing is that'll keep for a long time, I think.
Oh, you mean just storage?
Yeah. For your initial, however many months or whatever it is.
So I mentioned a biker gang. Would you be interested in joining it?
I mean, do they take mopeds? Because I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
I mean, I do have a bike. I have the equipment. It might not be the coolest bike, but I do have a bike.
I got a couple of super gay promo videos if you want to watch them.
Sure, man. They're
about 2 minutes each. So
if you want to throw it up, you go for it.
All right, hold on. Let me present for you real quick.
Yep. Let's see. And Michael,
and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Michael, it's the balance of having due diligence to think ahead without losing your happiness or letting the caution become fear and overtaking your day to day. Yeah, man. There's a balance. There's a balance in just about everything, right? So Like I was saying, I think the most important thing to prep is your own skill set and mind and knowledge base. And yeah, the best you can do the other stuff, great, but invest in yourself. That's what I like to say. You ready for me to throw it up? I see it
Yeah,
back.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's see what we got. Go for it.
Alrighty.
Listen up, you sons of conservataria. Ever dreamt of the ultimate freedom, combining the open road, Christian values, and libertarian principles? Well, buckle up, because today I'm going to show you how to create the ultimate Christian libertarian biker gang that focuses on homesteading off-grid communities. First things first, you need a core group of like-minded individuals.
Very important.
Reach out to local churches, libertarian meetups, and motorcycle clubs. Use social media to spread the word. Remember, this isn't about numbers. It's about finding people who share your vision of freedom, faith, and self-sufficiency. Next, let's talk bikes. You don't need to break the bank. Look for reliable used motorcycles that can handle long journeys and rough terrains. Brands like Harley-Davidson and Honda are popular, but anything durable will do. Just make sure everyone in the gang is comfortable and safe on their ride. Now, on to the mission. Your gang isn't just about riding for the sake of it. It's about building a community. Start by scouting locations for your off-grid homestead. Look for land that's fertile, has access
I think
to
one of those
water,
shots is Switzerland,
is
by the
far
way.
enough from urban centers to truly live off the grid. Once you've got your land, it's time to build.
Okay, I think that's enough. I think I've subjected you to to enough memes.
Hey man,
So
it sounds like a awesome organization. I can't. Where do I sign up?
Okay, so that's to be determined. We're still in the think tank phase, but anyways, I've recently been experimenting with AI to see if it'll do the work for me. And so that the AI made that video for me. I didn't even have to write the script or anything. I just told it what to do.
But we need if we're going to do this, we need a really cool logo for our jackets. That's the most important thing. I don't really care so much about the principles or the morals or values or the guiding, mission statement. If you have a really cool logo, I'm in. So we got to get a really cool logo.
It's got to be like the Decepticons logo or something like that. Something that's really cool looking, edgy, futuristic.
Yep. Yeah, it's got to be badass. If it's not badass, you can't be a biker gang. We could be a moped gang, but it's got to be badass. The logo needs to be badass.
I agree. Well, we got the name, so the name has already been chosen, but I'll let you design the logo.
All right, I'll work on it.
You already know. You already have in mind the standards that we require in this business. So
I mean, it's gonna be just off the chain. Everybody, I hope you're ready for how awesome this logo is that we can construct. I'm excited about how badassery of this logo. You're gonna look at it, you'll be like, man, these must be some mean mofos. And then we pull up on some mopeds and you're like, oh, I guess these weren't so mean. But you're gonna think it. You're gonna think these are bad dudes. We don't want to F with them.
Yeah. We might pull up on some tricycles and wheelies and stuff like that. But
can we get those little the little horn, not horn, but the little bell on like
the bell, the thumb bell.
That's what we need. I'm putting that on mine. You know how certain bikers, they'll hang like little decals or little tchotchkes from their motorcycle. That I'm gonna have a little tchotchke hanging down. I'm gonna have the ding 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 ding. That's gonna be.
And you're gonna have like the rainbow streamers hanging off of your handlebars and stuff like that. The tassels. Maybe on one side, but the other side has to be pure American flag, and it's just got to be heading into the sunset. That's how this has to be. Yeah, Eagles and red, white, and blue on the other side.
Or Green Bay Packers. Or if it's Green Bay Packers, we can make it happen. So.
Yeah, you can have the cheese helmet if you want for your.
Ooh, can I be like, or the Grand Poobah? You remember Flintstones, right?
Yeah, Grand Poobah.
Remember the Grand Poobah water buffalo helmet?
Yep.
I feel like
Royal
I need that.
Order water buffalo. Yep.
That's what it could be. Hey, I see.
Well,
you were mentioning
bad news.
You were mentioning Neurojack.
Oh yeah, Neurojack's here.
Do you want me to add or?
It's up to you.
Oh yeah, cool. Hey Neurojack, how are you?
Neurojack.
Hello.
How's it going?
I didn't know whose channel this is on, so I apologize.
This is Primal.
Yeah, you're good though.
Okay.
You're good. I and I were kind of just shooting the shit, and we ended up throwing this on just for funsies.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
I don't know much about you, but usually guys with primal in their name have like the tribal tattoo and their.
I got a couple, but it's more of a. So the joke or the story of the channel was I was looking for a name that was kind of something somewhat different. So Primal Studies, it was kind of a play on words of like studies of some of the foundational things of the world. So that's kind of where it came from.
He likes to study wolves. It's
I mean,
obvious,
my dogs are. Hey, Lucy, Luna, come here. You want to say hi? You can say hi. Davina,
Lucy,
you coming too?
Luna, come here.
You got the horde. You got the horde. So
holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll tell you without even knowing you, I like you already because any man who has a dog that resembles wolves is my kind of guy. That's the kind of guy I want to hang out with.
I mean, it's all for, we were talking about preparation, right? So if the grid goes down, at least one of them will be at least barking at something and scaring it off. So we're going in the right direction here.
Exactly. Because
so what's your
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, I was just.
I was about to say.
Go ahead.
Speaking of go ahead, Jack. I was just gonna make a joke. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask Primal, like, what's your thing? Because I've never heard of you before, but if I was hanging out with you, I know you must be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a dude, man. I'm just an old man that has lived a little bit of life and had some things to share, and I'm interested in interesting conversations and trying to learn more about the world is basically kind of my dealio.
So, you look like you have some muscles. What's your workout routine? Do you do like 5 days in the gym?
Yeah, I am. One of my little side things, I'm a personal trainer as a side job or whatever you want to call it.
Flex those guns while you describe it.
Right. No, those aren't the guns that matter. The guns that matter are, upstairs. So anyway, so I do that.
I know gung fu.
Yes, the gun fu. No, I work out a fair amount. It's always been a part of my life. I was an athlete throughout, school and college stuff, and then I was in the Army, and then I kind of just kept with it. So that's kind of how I got that aspect of my stuff, I guess, if you will.
Right, and that's I mean, for me, I'm trying to figure out how to do it. For me, it's like a double-edged sword because when I start lifting, I get super hungry, and so I just gain a lot of weight, which is fine. But it's it's one of those things where you're just it's weird because it's like the stress and everything. So I'm trying to figure out a good balance. I try to, but so I'm always looking for someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, and let me know. I'm happy to help with whatever. So it's kind of depending. In my opinion, everything about training is what your goals are. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to achieve something that's just kind of lifelong and just generally in good shape? Are you trying to build muscle? Are you trying to prepare for a marathon? There's so many different facets of it of what people are looking for.
So let me give you a rough idea of my life goal, and you can tell me. So basically, I want to be good enough looking that I can own a Pilates shop and teach women how to do Pilates but not be creepy, right? That's number one. Number two, I would love to, basically just live till I'm 130. You know what I mean? That would be awesome.
So,
and still be able to be interested in women until I die. That's the goal, right? So that's the idea.
I'll tell you what has done well for me, and it's not for everybody, but I found that the majority of my training has centered around circuit type stuff, kettlebells, and body weight, generally speaking. So I do a lot of that. It's a lot of kettlebell swings and burpees and all that kind of happy stuff. That's where a lot of my time and training is spent.
Stuff that's easy on the joints, if I'm hearing you right.
Yeah, so because I'm 40 and I'm probably in better shape than I was when I was 20 and anywhere along the way. And I've done things where it was very heavy lifting focused. I've done parts of my life where I was running marathons and that was the focus. But the past 5 to 10 years, it's been a lot of not lifting necessarily super heavy weights, but a lot of like kettlebell work and body weight work. And that for me is kind of the plan that I can do. I could work out every day and feel like I could get a good workout and go do it the next day, but without, oh, my knees hurt or oh, my back hurts or anything like that. So it's the sustainability element for me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. Because like, for me, like I tried to listen to other people, and I'm like, oh, just go lift weights, and like I could always lift like okay,
yeah.
Like, but it's like the joints and like, you know what I mean? Like it's like I would knock myself out in a day or two a week because I would just hit it so hard, and that would be like, it would take me 2 weeks to recover, basically, you know.
And there are modalities that are kind of structured around that. Like, I'm going to go hard, but it can not necessarily, people sometimes fall off of that or get injured. And that's the big thing is if you get injured or you can't train, then how are you going to get better? Yeah, you had one great session, but then what? You didn't train for 2 weeks because you were so effed up. So
yeah, now I'm watching some of these guys who are like actually serious, and like I'm starting to get the idea that like I used to go work out with this like little skinny dude who's like, you know, 80 pounds less than me, but he could lift like super heavy. And I would ask him like, what are you doing? And he's like, basically he would just do volume. And I was like, that sounds wrong. Like I thought you were supposed to do heavy. And then I realized like all the professionals, they do volume over like one, you know, like I was listening to like Mark Ripito and people like that, which I think he's smart, but it's like, I don't think most people are like built for that. You know what I mean? So like, it took me a long time to figure that out, you know?
Yeah. Like starting strength is a great, hey, I've never touched a barbell before. And let me have Mark tell me like, how do I squat? How do I deadlift? How do I do some of these things? But then people like go into these rabbit holes of, hey, I got to deadlift 500 pounds or I'm not a man or I'm not in shape. And that's not really necessarily in most people's best interest. Most people, to your point, they want to be able to do their daily activities of living and be able to go get a workout. They take off their shirt. They feel good about themselves. But they don't necessarily feel like I need to go squat 800 pounds. There are monsters that do that, and respect to them, and that's a thing. But that's not 99.9% of people, and that's not their goal. Like nobody really cares. I shouldn't say nobody, but like most people you run into your life aren't going to care if you deadlift 800 pounds. Like they just won't.
So let me ask you this, because you know, forgive me, I'm just trying to like sense out where you're coming from, because I have my own.
By the way, Primal, I apologize. Neurojack's part of my secret police, so you're getting the 3rd degree right now.
Hey,
so
it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
We gotta start somewhere in Conservatariat with the secret police, right? So
hey, you know,
don't worry.
We can't just let any riffraff in. That's
you can't. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. If we get into power, I'll be the first one dead. So don't worry. So
speaking of unprepared, Primal, if the apocalypse requires like upper body strength, I'll probably be the first one dead because I got the dad bod rocking. And
you know what they say? Have you all watched Zombieland? It's cardio. Number 1 is cardio. So
I've got an elliptical machine. Is that a good start?
That's not a bad start. Easy on the joints.
Yeah.
So here's my question, because I think we're getting down to the important stuff here. What's your opinion on like the red pill, MGTOW, you know?
Oh geez. Yeah. So I have had a peripheral interest in this for probably 10 plus years. So broad scope, very broad brush, telling men to do better in life. Cool. Good stuff. Some of the groups that are maybe pushing men towards really hating women, not good stuff. Teaching men
there
that
was a woman in the background, Primal, so be careful how we talk about women.
Yeah, Stacy doesn't care. Stacy doesn't count as a angry woman. She's a nice woman.
She's a happy woman. All right,
she's a happy woman. No, so teaching men or telling men, hey, level up, do better in life, get educated, get in shape, make money, cool. But some of it is very much like prioritizing money above all else, or trying to describe like, hey, all people are this way, or nobody's this way, or you should if you don't live your life this way, then you're a loser. And any of that, like, I find that to be non-helpful. Does it do more good than bad? I guess it depends on where you are and what you're looking for and what information you need. It's kind of like, what do they say? Like chew the meat and spit out the bones. Like if you're looking for some good information, I think there's good info to be had. But also there's a lot of people that are looking just to like suck money out of confused young men. And I think that's kind of fucked up and bullshit. So I don't know.
I believe the YouTube word you're looking for is grift. That's
sure. Yeah. Insert whatever word, but there's a ton of people out there that sprinkle a tiny bit of truth into a bunch of bullshit to get you to buy their product. I see a lot of that. I think that's 90+% of the prominent people in that space.
Yep.
So you're not a pro Andrew Tate guy, I take it.
No, I think him saying, "Hey, dude, go do more push-ups," cool. Saying, "Hey, you should start up a webcam business and pimp out women," not cool. So I think the bad outweighs the good on that one there.
So all these women I'm trafficking, you're saying I shouldn't do that because
I'm my moral compass is sometimes a little wavering, but that one just stays on the not to do list.
What if I got ripped, raw, and roided? Would that be a good path in life?
I think being in good physical shape is great, but if you have to inject a bunch of chemicals that will essentially kill your heart to get there, probably not the best plan. I know, not everybody watches professional wrestling over the years, but how many of those giant dudes made it to 60? Not that many. And do you think there was a reason for that? Yeah.
I just saved $9,999 on a $15,000 plan to inject myself with a bunch of stuff and get ripped rare and Jesus Christ. I knew I was messing up.
Yeah, it's I think it offers some of the solutions that are offered are like a quick and easy solution to a deeper rooted problem that can't be solved by a simple buy my course. Like if people wanted to get real achievable results that were sustainable across their life, you need like real life mentors in your life that actually care about you and have a vested interest, like your dad or some a parental figure in your life or a coach or a
gay guy who loves
something or somebody that actually gives
or a sponsored message just for a second, fellas. This video is sponsored by Conservataria. Send us your money for one course treatment to solve all of life's problems. Back to you guys.
But yeah.
No, yeah, I know it sounds like I'm trolling, but like I actually appreciate what you're saying because it is very saturated with the just over the top masculinity thing, and I was just gonna ask, like, are you pro children, anti, because I think that's one of the big
I have 3 kids.
Okay, cool. No, well, and I asked because
I guess that didn't answer. I guess that didn't necessarily answer the question. Though.
Yeah, answer the question, Primal. Stop ducking. Do you like them or not?
Yeah, no. Children are great. I love my kids. I love kids in general.
I got a little bastard since you like them so much. You can have one of mine.
Yeah.
Are you concerned that enough men are not pursuing that? Because that's kind of like my big thing. Is like I think that society's falling apart because most men are not.
I'm concerned that what I would label as good men aren't necessarily getting into those types of relationships, becoming fathers, because to your point, if we get enough assholes that are the fathers that aren't even around potentially, then we just generationally get worse as men. I think to have good men, you need both. You need a good mom and you need a good dad. But to literally, who teaches you how to be? I mean, in my opinion, the person that should teach you how to be a man is your father. And if your father's not around, or your father's weak, or your father's a loser, well, then you've been set up for failure. Could it be overcome? Yes. Overcame? Yes. But you're definitely not starting with the right foot forward in that scenario.
And where do good men come from, Neurojack? Inquiring minds want to know.
America.
Oh, America. Well, yeah. Anyways, so that will be one of the topics we can address on the 5 Religion show, which will eventually bleed into culture. That's why I said culture is the next most important thing.
Interesting enough, I actually have the next stream I have queued up is I was pulling up an article because that's what I do a lot of my streams is I'll find like a topic that I just get somebody, I see a stream about it, or somebody's talking about it in the news or whatever, or I'll just get on like a Psychology Today or whatever. And that's one that this presenter, I'm curious to hear his take, but he's trying to describe what are 13 good traits that make a good man or something like that. So it's funny you should mention that.
So, what is the solution to our current problem, Primal, and why is the answer the patriarchy?
So, I believe.
Sorry about that, guy.
Yeah. I believe that men should lead their families. I think everything in. Let me take a step back. I think that we are tribalistic in nature. I think the fundamental tribe you are a part of is your family. I think the leader of that family tribe should be the father. If the father is not a good leader for his family, then your tribe will start to disintegrate. I think that if we're going to try to break it down to like a very foundational level, I think that is our greatest failure right now, is we have weak fathers / weak men either not existing or not leading their families well.
You gave the answer too quickly, so let's make it harder. Do humans need religion to understand this, or can they do it without?
I think having some sort of moral framework and ethical framework, whether that's provided by religion or some other source, could be a way of doing it. I think I've met good, strong men that were not religious. They were good fathers. They did good things in the world, and great for them. I think that depending on who you are and where you are in the world and what your beliefs are, that religion can definitely be a guiding light for some of those people that maybe wouldn't have had those drives inherently, I guess, if you will. I don't know if that makes sense.
And earlier I told you I wasn't going to bug you with our previous conversation that got interrupted, but now you've made a liar out of me. So I am going to ask you this question I asked you a long time ago.
Yeah.
We were on a panel talking about morality and ethics, and someone on panel wasn't sure where morality comes from or if it exists. And so as an are you ex-Catholic, currently Catholic, sort of Catholic?
So I guess if I had to put a label on it, I would say I'm Christian. I haven't practiced Catholicism in quite some time.
Just general Christian, independent.
Yeah, I guess I would just say I would just say I'm a Christian.
Okay, so then you're familiar with the whole morality ethics divide, then, because you understand that, God's law is what we describe as morality, and then man's law is what we describe as ethics. Like whether or not men agree that we feel like things are nice or bad. But so with that being said, I think the way you were going to answer, had I been given the opportunity to ask you in that last discussion, you would have said that morality is objectively true, correct?
Is morality objectively true?
Yes.
Like it is, and it's inarguable in terms of like what some of the foundational moral principles are. Is that kind of the question, I guess?
Does God's word depend on who interprets it?
So it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't. Like God, like if we're going to go from a religious perspective, I think God's word is God's word, regardless of who's interpreting it. Now, the problem is, do people misinterpret, or do people sometimes lie for their own gain?
That too. And there's the subjective twist to that story, is that, obviously we can all observe objective things, but then man has this amazing ability to fail at anything in life, including subjectively twisting simple things like science and logic and math or whatever. Those things don't depend on feelings, yet we screw that up too, but not as bad as we screw up religion, but it's similar but different. I think you would agree.
And I think for me, the hardest part to wrap my mind around is, how do we provide objectivity to somebody else's thoughts? Like, I can't prove that somebody thinks this way. They could tell me a certain thing, but I'm not in their mind. I'm not in their, whatever.
Well,
So
you're
it's
you're giving away spoilers to the show, but I guess we'll eventually get to that. So,
hey man, you're just throwing questions at me, so I'm just answering.
so
Like
I'm
not in anybody's mind, so somebody could tell me all day, I believe this, I believe that, but
yeah.
do they truly believe? And I think that's a part of it I personally would struggle with. I'm a skeptic in a lot of ways. So if somebody says they believe in X, a lot of me is, okay, show me. And if it's something that they can't necessarily show me, then there's a hint of doubt in, I don't doubt my own belief, but I doubt that they believe what they say they believe sometimes.
I like that.
Yeah. So
did you
go ahead, Jack.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you grow up as a Christian or something else?
Yeah, no, I was an altar boy, went to church every Sunday, all that kind of stuff. So
Catholic, Jack. I just told you he's Catholic.
No, I'm just kidding. That's okay.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Or at least he used to be Catholic, but now he's expanding.
And here's Guns, because he's right. This is a personal struggle for me because I am a very scientifically minded person. So that is a continuous inner monologue battle that I have, because I have my faith and then I have, like, research and scientific proving of things and that kind of stuff. So for me as an individual, that is probably one of my bigger struggles I have in terms of how do I reconcile aspects of my faith with science in various forms. I think that's something that I am continuously thinking on and trying to evolve in.
Are you
okay,
more
General? Go ahead and bring that comment back up. I was going to say something about that.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, are you ready? We are going to begin the pilot episode of the Tribunal starting right now. On panel, we have 3 judges, Phi, Primal, and Jack. The hot seat, Uncle Guns, just brought up a topic for discussion. Primal kind of opened it up without, getting into the weeds yet. But go ahead, Jack, before I say something. What's your thoughts on this statement? Do you agree, disagree, or why?
Well, I think it depends on your goal. I think, unfortunately, you really don't have a choice except for to pick both, because I think science is a religion, personally, or it has become a religion. But that's a very complicated thing. I'll start the conversation by asking Primal, do you like Jung better or Freud or someone else when it comes to psychology?
I feel like I'm most familiar with Freud, so I guess I'll just go with that. But go ahead and dig in.
Also, Jack, the topic is religion and science, not psychology. So,
but psychology is an aspect of science. If we want to, if you want to reach a little bit.
Let's keep this simple for the audience, gentlemen. Let's not get too deep into the.
No, well, here's the reason I say that is, like, you can't really pick one or the other, I would say, just because.
Okay, so let me respond then. That's your response. Okay, so both judges, I basically disagree with both of y'all. The correct answer is that religion and science are both tools, a subset of the tree of knowledge called philosophy. The core root of all search for truth is philosophy. The 2 tools we developed over time, once our brains got smarter, was religion and science. We use science to find out truth claims concerning the physical world. Things like physics, chemistry, biology, all those topics. The non-physical things in life, that was more difficult to put into smart sounding words, because religion sounds like you're just doing like a Hail Mary of like ghosts and magic and we ain't got to explain shit or whatever. And so what religion really is the tool, the branch of philosophy in which humans can learn through methodology how to make truth claims about non-physical things, such as the spiritual realm, such as morality, such as souls, and the essence of what free will is and things like that. So you can have both. And sorry, Uncle Gun, sorry to rain in on your parade. I know the other judges were trying to be nice to you, but Phi's on panel, so You can have both. You should have both, because it's not an either or. This is the example of a logical fallacy called the false dilemma.
Well, let me explain. I think here's the thing
Go
is
ahead.
I think that people assume that science means that it's ever settled. I think science is a perpetual guesstimation at best, personally. I don't think that.
And so
just
is
because
religion until we're face to face with God. Exactly the same tool belt.
Because isn't the
Yeah,
scientific process always questioned? Like, shouldn't, even if something's been proven, shouldn't you always look for another way to potentially disprove something?
It can be disproven at any point in time,
Yeah.
past,
So-
present, or future.
Right. So I'm curious if we ever technologically get to a point where, and I don't even know what this looks like, but do we get to a point in our human advances where we can start scientifically testing or proving some of these like religious aspects or things about energy, or insert whatever comment you want that's not a quote unquote physical thing that we're currently interfacing with?
No, I don't think we will be able to. The only proofs concerning the topic of religion is miracles. So the reason why we had miracles in the past was God was giving us evidence of his claims. He was saying, this man has my permission or my authority to speak for me. And so when any other humans in the room would question him and say, like, who is this man? You know, why should we believe him? And then that man starts walking on water or raises some dead person back to life. Then everyone was like, okay, now we believe this dude. You know, whatever he says, we're going to listen. And so the purpose of miracles is to show to the audience that there is no debate about whether or not God has entered the panel. And
like,
so
well, yeah,
Go
see,
ahead.
I like that, and I think it's really about and see, this is why I think a lot of things that we see are crafted in such a way, because look, here's the thing is Andrew Tate, you know, why does what he does work for him? Because he knows who his target audience is, and honestly, his target audience is people who are disaffected from society, and they are susceptible to you know, sinful activities to replace their inadequacies. And again, as men, we can all relate to that to some degree, but you know what I mean? Like, obviously most of us are not going to go try to like start a, you know, webcam business in Romania to get over our shortcomings in life, right? So you just see what I mean? It's like, and you know, so I think that's really a good way of putting the whole thing with Jesus, is like people get hung up on the miracles and stuff like this, but the whole point is like, God knows his audience. You're right. He's dealing with people that are incapable of processing the things they need to process, right? So,
again, the miracles were to authenticate the message so that we wouldn't sit here and debate it all day about whether or not that was God speaking or not. And so once we establish that we know for fact that God said this message, then we can write it down in a book and say, this is the canonized Bible, because it's not human feelings. We're not voting on it. We're not interpreting it. We're not doing anything at all other than relaying the message that God gave to us. And so that's the difference between objective morality and subjective ethics.
Well, and here's the other thing is like science can't tell you why to do something. It can only tell you
exactly. It's completely
what it is.
useless
It can't
for
tell you why. And it can't even tell you how. That's the other thing. It can't even
can't
tell you
do
how.
anything. It can't tell you anything about metaphysical things such as the soul or God or morality or anything like that.
When you're in love with a woman, do you use science to tell you what the right thing to do the next day is? Like, okay, probabilistically, if I do this, my wife will be happy, and you know what I mean? Like, I've you know, you could try that way, but there's something else going on, right? So I'm just trying to say, like, most of your life you can't, you know, use science to apply to like find the best results in your life, essentially, right? So
I would definitely keep them separate and distinct, because the other problem the humans do is they try to overlap them or do them at the same time, like a scientific religion or a religious science or something like that.
I heard about that Scientology before.
Yeah, Scientology. And or even there's a certain group of Christians that are trying to like use science to prove God and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just such a such a wrong way of thinking about it.
And that's
But
why I
anyway.
was just curious if we ever even if we will get to, is there a technological level where we can attempt to actually prove some of these things? And that's why I'm just I'm just brainstorming. And it's is that even possible?
So even if we fast forward to Star Trek technology, and we had the most advanced technology possible that any aliens could share with us or whatever, you can't scientifically measure, control, or do anything to a miracle, for example. So if God is using a miracle to cause something to change in the universe, there's nothing your physical instrument that can alter that effect. And so at best, all you can do is have a camera record it or something like that, and you'd say, okay, it's physically happening here in real life, but what does all the little instruments say about it? Where's the origin of this thing? What's causing it? What's the energy level of this thing? And so God's miracles could use zero energy. He could walk on water and use zero newtons or kilowatts or anything like that to accomplish that. And so the scientists would study it for eternity, because they'd be trying to figure out how did he do that? What sort of starship technology did he use? And so you can't answer that question, because again, it's a non-physical topic. And so things that don't have physical origins can't be measured with physical tools like science.
Yep. And it's such an interesting concept to try to we're so rooted in the physical world, at least in my perspective. I feel like I'm very rooted in the physical world. So it's just such an interesting perspective. And it's, again, like I said, it's something that is a internal monologue that I have often, of reconciling the scientific aspects of my life with the faith or religious aspects of my life. It's an interesting dynamic, I'll put it that way.
So the conversations I found most productive on this topic that you just brought up, Primal, is that if you are so interested in the logical process and the as close to sounding scientific process as possible, that's where you get into discussions with Stephen Meyer or something. He kind of heads up the I can't remember the name of his group. He basically argues for intelligent design. So when he debates atheists about science, they always talk about the Big Bang and how cosmic evolution happened and all that sort of stuff. He focuses on the philosophical questions of if we found a watch on a beach, how can we logically deduce that was made by someone as opposed to nature accidentally made something or whatever? And so that's the best you're going to get as far as sounding scientific, as far as entering in that kind of conversation. Your average human doesn't exert that much brain power into this topic, which is why we basically default to religion, because the average human, a fisherman or carpenter or whatever, doesn't care about all the deep philosophy jargon or all the super advanced scientific, methodologies or whatever. All they know is they saw something happen, and you either believe it or you don't. And then you can try and figure out later why you believe that thing happened or whatever. And so for most people, that's why they just so quickly default to religion, because they don't need the scientific argument of how Jesus walked on the water.
Well, look, I have a scientific experiment right now, and this is also for the chat. Primal, let me ask you a question. Very simple one. Kamala or Trump?
Trump.
None of the above.
So is that a scientific or a religious answer?
I guess it's based on my rationalization of who I choose to vote for because of, policies and whatever other kind of influences I guess I have.
It depends on what your goals are. Do you want physical change, or do you have morality issues voting for one candidate or the other?
Asking me?
I was just interjecting a thought.
Oh, yeah.
Jack, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, I think what you said right there is the whole crux of it, which is, do you want to see material change or not? And I think that really, you know, that's the thing is like we're not going to know the spiritual impact of our decisions until we die, essentially. So we have to kind of settle for material evidence that we're on the right path to some degree. And a lot of times it's not going to be apparent to people who are thinking purely material. So sometimes, and I think that's where Jesus was talking about, where he talks about being, you know, meek and stuff. People think that means like just be a pushover. I think what it means is sometimes winning's going to look like losing, and sometimes losing is going to look like winning. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. So.
Yeah, and I guess to put put that in more, like I'm very okay with knowing that I don't know and understanding the fact that I may never actually like be able to prove something, but that doesn't stop my continuous interest in it or pursuit of it or pursuit of knowledge. Just because I'm never going to know everything, I still will not stop striving to know more, if that makes sense.
It does to me.
Well, have you ever heard of like the knee? Have you ever looked at that knees over toes guy? You know who that is?
Mm-mm. I've heard that phrase, but
well, he does like he's like a workout guy. And what about like Mr. Dr. Bird? You know, he's like the nutrition guy. He's like he has like 5 million subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
You've heard of him, right?
I've heard of the name, but I can't say I'm like super familiar with content or whatnot.
Oh wow. Well,
but yeah, kind of like hit me with it.
Well, I'm just saying, like you know a lot about like health and nutrition, so I'm just trying to apply it. Like it's kind of like that. Like it depends on your desire, right? Like if your desire is just to like live like a happy, healthy, like fun-filled life and die at 50 years old with drugs, sex, and rock and roll, then all that stuff is useless to you, right?
Right.
But who's to say that that's a bad way to live, right? A lot of people.
To your point, it depends on what you want, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's kind of like you can look at all the science and all this, and I think that that's the kind of weird part about now is like we have more information than ever, but it's harder than ever to like raise a family and have kids in a successful relationship. So isn't that kind of ironic in a way? It's like with everything that we have now, the most basic fundamental things about being a human is some of the hardest, right? So I think that's kind of like we have all of our basic needs met for the most part, like food, water, nutrition, you know, like warmth, shelter. You know, even most homeless people kind of are kind of to some degree choosing to live that way, right? So it's kind of an interesting like situation that we find ourselves in. And so again, it's just to kind of like see where the overlap is, you know.
And that can be part of the problem, Jack. I think if a lot of people in America had to work all their lives to earn what they have, we probably have a lot less Democrats right now. So, you know, it's kind of the nature of the beast, I would say.
Well, and the problem is if you just turn people loose and they just go their own way, like a lot of good people like us are going to have to like actually quote unquote handle the ramifications. And I think places like California and New York City are good examples where the government's quote unquote helping people, but it's not enough because some people just love to burn things down and watch the world burn. So, I mean, how do you handle that?
And the rough part of
another question, you know?
And the rough part for me is when it's, you know, help, but it's help, you know, disguised as enablement, and enablement being actually encouraging people to just not do stuff from themselves. So that's the tricky part of it all is everybody, oh, we should help, but are we helping or are we just enabling? And by enabling, are we, you know, robbing people of an opportunity to get better?
I prefer the tough love route myself.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to jump off in a second, and I want to ask two questions really quick, if you don't mind. First, do you mind if I invite someone to take my place that I trust that won't do anything bad to your stream?
I'm fine with
Wi-Fi
it, but
person, so.
yeah, and that's fine with me. But I'm going to have to hop before too long. But it's a great discussion. I'm definitely interested in continuing.
Yeah, we were just
just
pitching the idea, Jack. We're not doing a full show right now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh man. Okay, well, that's okay. So here's my question, and then
Dude, we got time. We got time. All three of us aren't going anywhere. Chill out.
Okay. Well, here's my question really quick. So I want to apply this to the war question, right? Because you're in the military, you kind of, I almost joined the military. I didn't. I had very conflicting feelings over it, and I'm sure you can understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's similar in that regard, where like in a way I feel like America has helped the world, but then I feel like we've done that, and then now I look at America and it's like, you know, we've destroyed ourselves, quote unquote, helping the world. And did the world even know what we gave them, and are they able to appreciate it and cherish it? And I
We
think
gave
that
them
that's,
freedom and democracy. You're welcome.
but that's the thing is freedom and democracy has destroyed us. So that's the kind of irony of it. It's like,
I'm memeing, Jack.
Yeah.
I'm obviously making a
Yeah,
joke.
it's tough. It's tough taking on the watchdog of the world role and then looking within yourself and seeing a lot of cracks in your own armor. And you know, what do we fix? Like, we don't have infinite resources, we don't have infinite time, we don't have infinite capability. I'm very much of like, hey, we got to kind of like take care of some of our own shit here too. So that's the struggle for me, is how long will we attempt to be the watchdog of the world while the world doesn't necessarily contribute to the effort as much as I think we do. That's my moral dilemma, I guess, if you will.
How about we get our house in order before we worry about the splinter in our neighbor's eye?
well, and see, that's the that's a good idea, except for the fact that, like, I think we're in a position now with the global, you know, system where it's very difficult to take your eye off the ball, because, you know, even if everyone in the world has the best intentions for their own people, or even just the world in general, you know, power is very tempting. And I think that, you know, I like when Trump said he wants to make NATO pay for our help. It's not because it's
Just like Mexico was going to pay for the wall.
Yeah, exactly. I think that if people don't have to pay a price, they don't value it, right? And I think
By the way, before the panel embarrasses itself anymore, since I like you, Primal, I'm going to give you the answer. Anytime someone asks you the trick question, Kamala or Trump, the answer is Ron Paul.
I do like the Pauls. I do like the Pauls.
Ron Paul. Rand Paul is, you know.
Hey, I'm just saying. Yeah.
He's just a chip off the old block, but the
Yep.
Ron Paul's where it's at. But anyways, what's your thoughts on the Uniparty? Do you think it matters which one we vote for?
And that's another moral quandary I have of, does it really matter? Is it all just same shit, different team? Hey, team
Is
red,
it just
team
a
blue.
deep state kabuki
Is
theater?
it all just one team? I think I'll put it this way. On the right, on the left, center, whatever, I see tons of politicians go into office with not a lot of money in their bank account, or not nearly as much, and all of them seem to come out with a lot more. So something,
it's magic.
It's magical, and it doesn't seem like the winning team gets more or the losing team gets less. It seems like they all get a lot, and it seems like they just stay there forever too. So if
there is a losing team, the American citizen, the taxpayer.
I was gonna say, I feel
loses.
like the people footing the bill are the losing team in this one.
Yep, always losing every time.
Yeah.
So we can get into politics if you want to. Like I said, I prefer religion than culture than politics. But next time,
it's funny how it all kind of, to your point, intersects at some point, because
I like to build my house from foundation up instead of, you know, like start with the roof and then fill in the parts in the middle or whatever, you know. So anyways, I think you have convinced me that you're definitely capable and interested in intelligent discussions about how to save our society. So
yeah, I mean, my some of my methods might be stupid, but I'm here for the convo at least.
That's why you got Fi here for you. I'll straighten you out. Don't worry. Yep. So just like we did on see, that's what I was talking about. Sometimes we're going to disagree on stuff.
Yeah.
Generally, I think we all kind of agreed. We just had different ways of phrasing it, and so. I think we can definitely find common ground and productive conversations to have. So, thank you for letting me borrow your stream for this chit chat. And when I get up and running, September 4th is when my hours reset. So I'll start doing some shows.
Yeah, let me know.
And I will holler at you and see if you're interested in religion, culture, politics, whichever floats your
Yeah.
boat that day.
Yeah, sounds good, my man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Well,
All right.
everybody, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Primal, for your time, and
Yeah.
wish you all a blessed day.
Yeah, thanks everybody for popping by. Hopefully, see you next time.
Yep. Later.